next reader is Charles Dye. Charles is a copywriter, journalist, and aspiring novelist. He's honored to be among Tom Spanbauer's students in the Dangerous Writers community. His fiction credits include indie anthologies Artscape, The Frozen Moment, and The Class That Fell in Love with Man, which coincidentally is about Tom Spanbauer. I also just want to share that I've known Charles for a long time, and he's commonly known in our circle as Innuendo Man because he can turn anything, literally anything, into a sexual innuendo. So what's interesting about this, though, I want you to pay attention to this while he's reading, is that you will never find anything that could be accidentally misconstrued as a sexual innuendo in his own writing because he weeds it all out first. Charles Dye.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being here. And thank you, Dami, for putting this together. I mean, a year or two ago, once upon a time, there was a little scholarship that paid it forward. There we go. The piece I'm going to read you guys tonight is really, really short. So it's going to take a minute or two to set up first. The setup is actually longer than the piece. You got to do what you got to do, I guess. I have a true story, though, that's right at the heart of what we talk about when we talk about dangerous and Tom Spanbauer and dangerous writing. Those stories of heartbreak and life-changing pain. I know we all have them. We all run into them sooner or later. And maybe some of us run into more than one. This will be my first of those. It's, as Kevin pointed out, it won't be something sexual or illegal or scandalous. It's not that kind of dangerous. This dangerous true story is that I almost died when I was 11 years old. And as a matter of fact, I really can't explain how I survived, how I went through it. So side note, ever happened to feel entitled to two properly might say?
Yeah.
All right. So how much of that did you miss? Take it from the top?
Use that mic.
Not used to. Usually people are telling me to quiet down, not used to quiet. So again, side note, if you ever happen to feel entitled to break me down or take out your bad day on me or whatever, I just ask you to bear in mind. When it comes to the kind of shit that'll really wreck your day, I took 46 third-degree burns in one sitting at 11 years old. That's why I say it's a miracle after all. But again, it's a true story, and one of my middle school classmates was with me that day. He ended up being really scared, obviously, but he wasn't physically hurt at all. And a couple years later, his family moved away. So high school and college and girlfriends and jobs go by, they come and they go, and all in all, 20 years passes. And then fucking Facebook comes along. And Facebook puts everybody back in touch, right? This one connects to that one, this one connects to the other, they connect to you pretty soon, everybody's all back in touch. It's fucking Facebook. So it's a matter of a month or two that I'm on Facebook before all the connections get made, and I'm back in touch with my middle school classmate who moved away like 20 years before, a couple of years after I got burned so bad it's a miracle I didn't die on the spot. And the gesture he makes to get my attention, bless his pointed head, he Facebooks me a link to an article titled "Forgiveness Has Healed Kim Puck's Heart." Now, a lot of you probably don't know Kim Puck by name, but I bet most of you have seen a really famous picture of her. She's the little girl running naked in the picture of the kids in Vietnam after they were burned and bombed and burned by napalm. She's alive and well today, at least somewhere in California with her husband and kids, but an hour or two after that photo of her was taken, a photo of her running naked and burned, of course, literally burned off her body, they took her to the morgue. She was alive, but barely, and they took her to the morgue with the rest of the bodies and left her there for dead. So that's how she woke up. In the morgue, naked, burned, alone, surrounded by death. And this long-lost middle school classmate sending me that article after what he and I had gone through as kids. His gesture to get my attention could have been a little bit more graceful, to say the least. But it was clear that this bygone day would go through, it had to be addressed. And so the piece I'm about to read to you is not only shorter again in this rambling setup, but the piece itself is a letter I wrote more than 20 years after the fact, trying to resolve that article that he sent to me on Facebook, and trying to resolve this intense experience we shared back in the day as middle school kids. And this letter, from 3 or 4 years ago now, said, Andrew, I found the article you sent very interesting. The photo that's central to the story is one of the most famous photos of the 20th century. The photographer Nick Up won a Pulitzer for it. I've encountered that photo everywhere, from my grandparents' Time Life books to my years of journalism school. Oddly enough, though, I never related my own childhood burn experience to the girl in the photo. I suppose there are a lot of reasons why I wouldn't. Her day with the napalm coming before I was born, for one. But I can see where you make the connection. Some common elements for sure. Me, a couple years older than she is in the photo. My third-degree burns, the hospitals and surgeries, the scars and the skin grafts. And turning my thoughts to the night my body tried to hold the 7,200 volts off that distribution line, I appreciate that you were there. It's unfortunate that you have this to remember, and it's unfortunate that you came so close to having something even worse to remember. By all rights, it should have killed me, arcing into my hand and up my arm, across my body and out my leg. How the current missed my brain and the wet cries of my heart right in its path is ridiculous luck. As close as you were, it could have just as easily killed us both. So that's where the words start to wear thin. Past that, the shock started to fade, and the pain stretched out over everything. But we all have those moments where something happens and life changes. For what it's worth, a darkness deeper than sleep is all I know from those minutes that I was unconscious. The last thing I remember before the blackness is that I was a little kid reaching out for a tree branch and I found a power line instead. The next thing I remember after the blackness is that you were my friend and you were there.